Namaste. We are here to discuss about the fundamentals of asanas, the yoga asanas. The topic is the principles, concept, and the practice of asana. Next, please. So, before discussing about what yoga asana is, we'll discuss what yoga asana is not, and what could be the misconceptions of asanas, what to expect, what not to expect from asanas. Then automatically we'll have a fair bit of idea of asana, and then we'll go into the details of it and how to do it. The first thing, as we see, is yoga. Next. Yoga is equated to asana. Asana is just the part of the whole yoga, and often we hear people saying that when they go to a class, they call it as a yoga class, and when they do some asanas for about 60 minutes to 90 minutes, they say that I had gone to a yoga class, or I had done 1 hour of yoga. Of course, it is part of yoga, which we have to be very clear with it. Asanas is a part of yoga, not the whole yoga. Secondly, asana we say as only a body pose. It is not only having different forms and shape of the body. Asana does include that, but it is more than just a body shape. Thirdly, we believe that it is only a physical exercise, gives only physical and to an extent psychological benefits. No doubt it is true, but if you see the slide, only is being underlined. So asanas are not giving only this. Asanas and yoga give much more than only these physical aspects. So we have to be very clear with that. It's just some what we can say side effect or the primary benefit, but that is not all about asanas and the benefit. Thirdly, as many yoga therapists or yoga teachers experience from people, that somehow it is spread in the society that yoga is, which is mainly asana, is able to cure all kinds of diseases that exist. So people suffering from heart patients, heart problems, this problem, that problem, to a particular disease, categories of diseases, yoga and asana, definitely they are of help, but not all. So let us not expect that yoga and asana, like a magical wand that we just go abracadabra and the whole thing is, the person is absolutely cured. There are limitations of yoga asanas when it comes to curing all diseases. Certain what we can say, there's a degeneration, deformities, it is very difficult to cure. Certain acute phase of any disease, it is very difficult to say cure from only asana. As an example, one of the popular pose, Pavan Muktasana, which is good for digestion, as they say, but it does not mean that if I go to some market, have a contaminated food, I get food poisoning, then I have all kinds of vomiting and diarrhea, and by practicing Pavan Muktasana, I get rid of that. So that is not what we should expect from asanas. So it is a therapy. We can use it as therapy, but it has got its certain limitations. So we should expect few things and we should not expect few things from asana. Another thing, muscle building or hypertrophy of the muscles is generally what we should not expect from asana. The Herculean body with all kinds of shapes and cuts to the arms, the six packs, that is that extra bit of toning of the muscles we should not take from asana, especially when we look asana from traditional point of view. As an example, if I am a weightlifter by profession, that's not a fact, but as an example, so to have a proficiency in my weightlifting, I have to train my arms. And for that, I have to do the weight training exercises. For that, I should not expect that kind of training for the muscles from yoga asana. So that kind of muscle building or hypertrophy is not possible from the asanas. Again, most of the yoga teacher would face this difficulty from their the students or clients, that it is they expect that I did 1 hour of asana practice and then I'm not having that enough perspiration, pasina nahi aa raha hai, there is no heat, garam nahi lag raha hai, so it is so I have not done the practice. So if it were exercise, then that is very true. Physical exercise does the calorie or fat burning even on immediate basis. But that's not the case with traditional yoga asana. The way traditional yoga asana is done, we are not supposed to perspire or heat the body to that extent. To some extent it is possible if the person needs, but generally when we have a classical approach to yoga asana, this kind of burning, that too in a quick way, is not possible. And if it is happening, there is nothing wrong, but then we are not doing asana, we are doing the exercise in the name of that asana. And again, my teacher friends, they expect or they suffer from this thing, that people expect 3 दिन आसन किया है, 3 दिन योगा किया है, कुछ फर्क नहीं पड़ रहा है. So that is quite right. 3 दिन में कुछ नहीं होने वाला है by आसन. To have the sustainable effect or result of the asana or yoga, so to say, it is not possible quickly. A person has to practice for a long time, at least for few weeks, and that too in a regular manner. Then only we have a scope to expect some sustainable results. So we should not expect quick things like a T20 game from this yoga asana. It is like a test match. We have to have that kind of patience to have sustainable result. Little feeling lightness and feeling good maybe temporarily, that is possible and quite fair, but transformative changes are not possible in a week or 2 days or 3 days of practice of asana. So what asana is then? Basically, if you see the classical approach, yoga is meant for certain spiritual states. It has got certain spiritual value to it, and asana being a part of it, it is just the means. Means for what? Means to prepare oneself to be able to practice these higher practices like pranayam or dhyan or dharana, mudra, and those kinds of practices which have higher spiritual value. So to have that, we need to have our body prepared, body and mind as well. In Hatha Yogic approach, there is a discussion of Kundalini, the prana, Kundalini awakening. So to have that kind of thing, our body needs to be prepared. We cannot have that kind of interaction of prana or awakening of Kundalini in any physical body. So to make the human body and mind prepared for that, asana is the means. Asana is not the end of it. If we are to travel from one place to the other by flight, for example from Mumbai to Delhi, then sitting in a flight of course gives us pleasure to see the clouds and just to enjoy the flight, but then staying permanently in the flight is not so interesting. We have to get down to the destination and move on with our agenda. So likewise, asana is just the means to have the flight, and we can enjoy the flight, but then it is just the means, not an end. After a certain preparation, we have to transcend the asana aspect and the importance, and to go to higher things in yoga. So basically, when we say asana as the means, the aim of asana would be the meditative pose that you see at the bottom part of the slide, that the person is sitting in with certain arrangement of his limbs and body. So a person is sitting with the triangular base, the broad base. That is the sitting position where two hip bones and the knees, they are touching the ground, and looking from the side, the person is having his trunk erect, that is the straight or erect spine. And to be able to sit in that position is what we aim, not for 2 minutes or 5 minutes, but hours together. And in that particular pose, we practice the higher practices of yoga, maybe pranayam or dhyan or dharana, those things. And all of us are not able to do that suddenly, all of a sudden, for these hours, for that duration of time. But so what to do? So to have that kind of physical ability, physiological ability, health-wise ability, we have all other postures or asanas. So main aim of the asana as the limb of yoga is the meditative asanas. And to be able to achieve the firm meditative asana in a comfortable way without disturbance, we have all other asanas. So even those asanas like Bhujangasana, Parvatasana, and there are n number of asanas we have on the globe, but they are just the has to be there. Now, how are these asanas performed? What are the techniques for that asana? So the first technique or the definition that we can get from traditional text is Yoga Sutra, which mentions in its second chapter, as all of us know, Sthira Sukham Asanam, Pratna Shaithilya Ananta Samapattibhyam. Now, what is Sthira Sukham Asanam? Maybe the meditative pose or the cultural or relaxative pose. So maybe end or means Sthira Sukha Asanam. So sometimes we hear interpret it as sthira meaning the stable pose, sukha means the comfortable pose. The other interpretation is the sukha being stable or continuous. So when I sit in a meditative pose, or when I am assuming a particular form of body, physically and mentally, both I find myself in a continuous or stable, comfortable pose. So that sukha is sthira in me, and sukha is also physically and mentally also. And how is that comfort? Is with effortlessness, that is prayatna shaithilya. So I need not struggle to be in that pose. I need not go beyond my limits and capacity. Ananta Samapatti, it will take another hour to discuss what Samapatti is, philosophy discussion. But for us to understand it practically, the mind has to be merged in infinity, or mind has to be focused or aware somewhere. So it is not only the physical pose, but we have to take care of our awareness or mind stuff when we talk about this technique of asana. So technique of asana does include the role of mind. Now, next is the movements. So do we do the movements in the asana? So yes, from any ordinary state, relaxed state of the body, we have to do some movements in the limbs, movements in the spine to achieve a particular final pose, and that final pose we call it as asana. So movements are required to be performed so that one reaches in that steady, comfortable pose. Now, how are these movements performed? Is A, they have to be slow. Why slow? Is when we perform slow movements, our mind is easily focused within us. Doing fast movements, there are chances or more chances of distraction, but the slow movements have less distraction. We can be with us in a more profound way. The movements, slow movements also ensure that the pose or the activity is safe. It means doing fast movements and that too going beyond the limits may cause injuries. The yoga injury is a popular term in today's world. So the practices, the asanas, they have to be safe, and for that the movements have to be very slow in nature. How slow? Comfortably slow. Next is about the final position. When I am in the final position of asana, as the definition says, the technique says, I have to have the sustained comfort level physically as well as mentally, and the mind or awareness has to be within. So I have to stay in that final position for some longer time. So going into the final pose for 2 seconds is generally not the approach of asana. We have to have a long period of maintaining this final pose with steady comfort. The next popular discussion or the questions that we hear is, how should the breathing be in asana? Now, as we talked about in the definition, pratna shaithilya, that is effortlessness. The effortlessness is not only about the muscles, effortlessness is also applicable to the other systems of the body as well. That is, the respiratory system also has to be effortless. So we don't put any extra bit of efforts to control breathing in final position of asana. We allow the body to be comfortable, and in that comfort the body adjusts the breathing pattern on its own, and we have to allow it to happen. Whether it is a final pose or while going into the pose, we don't do anything unnatural to our breathing. So if we are moving forwards, with the forward bend, how is the natural pattern of the breathing is, while exhaling, the body exhales the breath out and then we bend forward. But it is not with efforts. So we don't exhale and bend forward consciously. It just happens, and we have to allow it to happen naturally. Likewise, bending backward, the body inhales and bends its back backwards. So we have to allow it to happen naturally. Interestingly, this is only in the initial stage of the practice of a person. Eventually, when we do very slow movements, so bending forward in a pose called Paschimottanasana, we don't bend forward in a couple of seconds, but we may require just from starting position to bend forward to go to final position around 30 seconds, or an advanced practitioner of asana may take a minute to go into final position. So continuously exhaling for 1 minute to be achieved final position, that's not practical. So breathing will happen naturally, both inhalation and exhalation, even when the person is bending forward. So it depends on the person. It's how advanced that practitioner is to have that breathing pattern. But to generalize the statement, we say we allow the body to have the breathing in it naturally. There are no special or conscious efforts to play with the breathing while doing the movements or even while maintaining the final position of asana. Awareness, very important, especially from traditional classical yoga asana point of view. When I am doing an asana, where should my mind be? The Ananta Samapatti aspect in most primitive level says that we have to mind our own body or the asana or the state. So there is a progression from a beginner to advanced level about even about the awareness. Certainly, awareness should not be going elsewhere. So if I am practicing asana in a group class, I should not be looking to my neighbors, how they are practicing, how to what extent they are able to practice, and trying to imitate them and to know. So we should not mind what others are doing. We have to mind what our own body is doing. Now, talking about that progression, initially we have to have our awareness into the concerned body parts, the muscles, the alignment, making sure that it is fine, and I'm not going beyond my limits. So all on the physical level, physical plane, my mind is focused. And when I do it in an effortless manner, then I have to transcend this physical body and muscles and alignment to more subtle things. Maybe I can focus on my breathing or heart rate or something which is more than physical, to physiological aspects that happen during the final position. Even going beyond, I may be aware of my mind itself when I'm doing my asanas. And at that stage, as I progress, the asanas does not, or asanas, they are not done, they happen. And finally, it is an abstract awareness that I reach, transcending all the body, mind, physiology, dot things. And I just am in that particular state of asana. So that is advanced yoga or advanced asana, about that abstract awareness level. But in the beginning, we have to mind our physical stuff about the alignment and this thing, but our own alignment and not others. That we have to take care. Next aspect about the technique is the relaxation or restoring time, both before an asana and after asana. So we do not jump from one asana to the other immediately. If we are to derive the benefits on all levels, not only physical benefits, yes, we can expect, and to an extent even on the psychological benefits. But when we say the asana, when we add to that kind of spiritual value to asana to expect those results, generally we treat one asana at a time. To begin with, the state of body mind should be relaxed. So we start from relaxing position, then we do the asana, and even after coming back, we relax for a while after the asana. Now, how long to relax before and after? So we'll discuss later that the preparation of the asana for the asana needs the metabolic rate to be normal, or the what we can say, the body and mind should be relaxed. So when we have that feeling of relaxation in the body and mind, then we are in a good position to begin with an asana. After coming back from the state of asana, how long I should relax? It depends on what was the intensity of that asana, how long I have maintained that asana for. Now, the effects on asana of various degree, that would be in the next slide after a while, that of course they happen while we are performing the asana, while we are in the final pose, but the effects does not cease immediately after coming back from asana. It is like when we switch on the fan rotates, but when we put the switch off, the fan does not stop immediately. It takes certain time because of the momentum, and after a while the fan stops. Likewise, when I am in the final position, certain physiologically, psychologically things are happening within us, and immediately after coming back, the effects does not they don't stop. It takes a little while to continue those effects in us even when we are relaxing. So certain time needs to be given after coming back from asana, and the relaxation position is the best one for that. Generally, for an average 1 minute of holding the position, half a minute or a minute of maintaining is sufficient. But again, it depends on how long we take to settle down after coming back from that asana. Then we are supposed to begin with the next pose. The next point is about the counter pose. And with the counter pose, there is another thing called as sequencing of position. There is no hard and fast rule, so to say, that there has to be a counter pose. But in the beginning, in the initial days, when we perform the counter pose, the effects, we can say, we can maximize those benefits. The counter pose meaning, if I am doing a forward bend, then the next pose should be giving me some backward bend. So if we do that, we can expect good benefits, but it is not a rule mentioned anywhere that they, especially in the text, that there has to be that counter pose. And same goes with the sequence, that there is no hard and fast sequence as such. Yes, to achieve a particular benefits for a particular person, the particular sequence may work, but that there is no unique sequence for all of us to achieve all benefits. It varies. There is no rule as such, and that's the challenge. Interesting thing the teachers have for a particular benefit for a particular person. How should the sequence be? But it does vary from person to person. One important point is, I think we missed, is the last point, that is staying in the state of asana for a long time is what we intend, rather than doing the same asana in a repetitive way, or having numerous asanas done in quick succession one after the other. It means when we aim for the higher value benefits from an asana, in 1 hour class, maybe 2 or 3 asanas, maintaining for say 15 or 20 minutes, that is giving more benefits of higher value than a yoga class with 20 or 30 different postures maintained for 15 seconds. So there is nothing wrong with that, but then having too many repetition and too many postures in a limited time, the class is more towards physical exercise than a classical yoga asana class. So that thing we have to take into our consideration. The prerequisite or general consideration, obviously, when we are performing asana, the mind should be focused within. So there we have to minimize the disturbing and distracting factors which could be in the outer ambience or we are practicing at home, or when we are practicing in a hall or room, we have to have least distractions so that the mind can be easily focused with it, at least for a beginner. As a person advances in yoga asana, a person should be able to focus anywhere, wherever, however he or she is. But in the beginning, the distractions have to be minimized. Again, when we are to start with yoga asana, we have to have the resting body condition. In technical terms, the metabolic rate has to be normal before we begin. Especially, it should not be high. So the metabolic rate. So if I am doing a physical exercise, if I am doing some jogging, I'm perspiring, it indicates temporarily the metabolic rate has gone higher. So we have to calm it down, and then when we feel calm, then only we can do this asana to have maximum benefits. Sometimes when this metabolic rate is quite high, and then we are doing some postures like topsy-turvy position, Viparit Karani, Sarvangasana, Shirshasana, then they may cause some injuries, like the blood vessels getting ruptured with high blood getting pumped at higher rate. So it is best recommended to have the normal metabolic rate to start asana. Food and bowel considerations. खाना खाने के बाद कितने टाइम जाना चाहिए कि मैं आसन कर सकता हूँ? One of the very popular question and most difficult to answer. The theory behind that is the GI tract, the gastrointestinal tract, that is from food that enters from the mouth, esophagus, the stomach, intestines, the smaller, the bigger ones, right up to the anus, the entire GI tract. When it is empty, the sense of comfort is good, and eventually the effectivity of the asanas is good. So emptier the GI tract, the effectiveness of the asana is more. Now, how long the time gap should be there between the food and asana, or asana and food? Again, it depends. If I have only a small quantity of food, then it takes quick time to digest and absorb. Then less time is sufficient. After a liquid diet, milk or something, maybe 90 minutes to a couple of hours will be sufficient. But in the name of food or meal, if I have some big quantity diet, and that too heavy to digest, then maybe 8 or 9 hours it will take for complete digestion. Then even till 8 or 9 hours, I should not be performing asanas. The idea is to have GI tract empty. Same like bowel, the intestines, if they are empty, then it gives us more sense of comfort while performing, and hence the effectiveness is more. But again, if we suffer from certain problems of bowel not getting empty, then also we can do asanas. Sometimes the performing of asanas may help to clear the bowels. So there is no rule as such, but then we have to ensure that more the empty this GI tract is, better is the effect. Combination with other physical exercises. These physical exercises, which generally the ones which stimulate the sympathetic nervous system, a little technical discussion. The asanas done in a classical way ensures the stimulation of parasympathetic nervous system and not the sympathetic nervous system. The physical exercise, the jogging, the gymming and all that, they stimulate the sympathetic nervous system, whereas asana stimulate, or asana, the effect of asana is that calmness, the freshness, the lightness, which is a result of parasympathetic nervous system. So both are good. So effect of asana is of one category and effect of exercises is of another category. Both cannot replace each other. So it's good if we do certain workout, do some physical training on one hand and asana on the other. But the question is, can we do immediately one after the other? The answer is yes and no. The answer is yes, we can do it one after the other, but no is not on immediate basis. We have to have certain gap, as Swami Kulananaji has written, around half an hour to 45 minutes gap between these physical exercises and then asana to have maximum effects from both. So we can do both of them, but with sufficient gap between them to switch over from sympathetic to parasympathetic tone. Next is the effects of asanas. Asana has got potential to have the effects from most gross physical to most subtle on pranic levels. As we say asana, we have stretching, we have contraction on muscles. So this stretching of muscles, what ensures is the elasticity of the muscles, flexibility of the greater range of motion of the joint. So that is one of the effect, having flexible body. Contraction of muscles, when we do asana, the way we do asana, we maintain the contraction of the muscle. It does not give that six-pack effect or hypertrophy, but it does ensure that the proper toning of muscle is there and endurance aspect is there in the muscles. So we should not expect Herculean body by practicing that effect. For that we need repetition, but steady maintaining this contraction, we ensure endurance and sufficient toning. When we do certain asana, the changes in blood circulation happen. The blood does get diverted to certain areas of interest or regions of interest. So better the blood circulation in a region, better is the nourishment, better is the removal of waste, and as a result, the functioning of that particular part or region or organ is better. Pressure, when we are performing certain asanas, certain parts or the glands experience the pressure, and what this pressure applied on those parts ensure is the massage, especially when it comes to endocrine or exocrine glands. The pressure ensure massage, causing better blood circulation or stimulation of those glands to have better functioning of that. As we talked, the mind or nervous system is heavily involved in asana, especially when it comes to balancing pose. It ensures a good neuromuscular coordination, helping generally to have better muscular and nervous system communication. The nervous system is also continuously involved to relax and to be in the final position of that asana, overall improving the functioning of nervous system. Going more into subtle from physical to mind or emotional or cortex level, involving of the mind and emotion and focus of mind to a certain part of the body ensures concentration of the mind, stabilizing the emotions, and that results into better functioning of the cortex with least disturbance of mind and emotion. Moving more into subtle is the prana consideration. It is said, not proven scientifically as of now in labs, but when we are diverting our mind, when we are aware of a particular region of the body, the prana in that body flows better. And when we are performing the relevant asana, the flow of prana in that particular part is more. So to have channelize the prana in a particular region, certain postures with the effects and the involvement of the mind will help. The result or the effect of Yoga Sutra is Tato Dvandvan Abhigataha, that is the removal of conflicts on all level. Now coming to the end, the caution, words of caution. is although asanas are having the potential to have effects from gross flexibility to the influencing of prana, asanas have the ability to cause injuries or damages, sometimes the permanent injuries, when we do it in a wrong way or improper way. Improper way means going beyond the limits, performing or selecting or the choice of asanas which I'm not fit for that, and still I do. By then, then I might end up getting injured. And this yoga injury is one of the most common injuries that we suffer, and then that's not something good. So we have to perform the asana in the most safe way. The second is learning and practicing of asana without any supervision. That is the biggest problem that the people and the society is suffering, especially nowadays that we have online classes. There's nothing wrong with that. Whether it is online or offline, practicing without supervision is creating havoc, problems. Certain ways when we are having online classes where there is no possibility of correction, we have to be very careful with that. There is nothing wrong with me practicing asana, but someone has to there, especially in the learning phase, that someone is watching me if I'm doing right or wrong, and there is a scope that that person is suggesting me the correction. If it is online, then only verbal cues are possible, but then there has to be the correction aspect taken care of. So practicing without this supervision, we have to be very, very careful, especially as we see just by reading the books or by watching the videos, and or imitating the social media post of asanas. We are just doing it. Nothing wrong with that, but that has to be selected properly. I should be fit for that, and someone should be able to see me and correct me if I'm doing something wrong. So we have to practice in a safe way. Otherwise, the yoga and yoga asana is not supposed to cause injuries, but yet they are causing injuries. So that aspect we have to take care. So this fairly we have discussed about the basics in such a small topic, small short length of time. If given a chance, we can have more detailed discussion of all these things. So as of now, I stop here. Thank you.